Last week in the JBL Cup Series, we started off season number 7 with a bang at Langley Speedway for the Powerade Clash. Here tonight for the first time ever, kicking off Daytona Speedweeks here on NS Racing 97 officially at Daytona. For the first time ever, we are doing full single car qualifying. We've done the Flash 10 shootout in the past, but now all 46 drivers will lay down a qualifying lap to see where they will start in each duel and to find out who will start on the front row for the Season 7 Daytona 500. It is qualifying for the Season 7 Daytona 500 right now on NS Racing 97. Hello everyone, it is Nathan here, and welcome to Daytona International Speedway for qualifying for the Daytona 500 and for Season 7 of the JBL Cup Series. We have never done it in this format before. Of course, we've done group qualifying and a Fast 10 shootout in the past, but this time it is different. This time, every driver, all 36 full-time drivers, and 10 Daytona 500 only drivers and teams will go around, do a lap, and we will be able to talk about everyone and see where everyone will set themselves up for the Powerade Duels here later on in the week. Here's the lineup that we will go in here tonight. It is a inverse of the Powerade Clash last week, so that means that Eric Monaco, who got last in his LCQ, he will therefore start the night first, and then all the way down to Alexander Rowe. He was the first one that didn't make it into the feature last week at Langley, and then Joe Rutkowski will go out first out of the drivers that made it into the feature, and then we will go all the way down to Carlos Sestrai in the second half, where he was the winner last week, and he will go out last out of the full-timers. And then for the 10 Daytona 500 only cars and drivers, they will go out after that, 37th through 46th in number order. So it will go Noah Clifton, Taylor Pun, Richard Fogelman, Roberto Crown Jr., Avery Alford, William Ayers, David Dixon, Wyatt Walker, Stuart Grant, and Cement Ozkent. The fastest two of those drivers will make it in, will lock themselves in to the Daytona 500, and then everyone else will have to go for 2 more spots in the duels. With that being said, we will have Alex up here in the booth to start tonight, and then Stuart Grant, a Daytona 500 only driver that is attempting to make it into the field, will join us later on tonight. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and kick things off with the number 88 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet of Eric Monaco. Alright. It's time to kick off qualifying for the 2026 JBL Cup Series Daytona 500. All 46 drivers will lay a time of 1 lap, and the first one is Eric Monaco in the number 88 for Trackhouse Racing and the Elijah Leonard's team. And as I mentioned in the intro, we will have multiple people up here in the booth joining me throughout the night. And first up, we got the owner of Front Row Motorsports and Alex. Welcome to Daytona qualifying. Had the Clash 4 or 5 days ago, and now it's where the real season starts here tonight.
We're excited for it, no doubt about it. And nice thing about doing these single car qualifying sessions, we get to talk about everyone individually. And of course, a lot of these guys have a lot of high standing in the Wall Cup Series, and especially this guy, because Eric Monaco won our Daytona 500 a year ago. So excited to see what he can pull off here in the JBL Cup Series in that number 88 machine.
Absolutely, Eric Monaco had a pretty solid season, all things considered, last year in the car racing number 16. Had some really standout ones and had unfortunate luck when he had good ones. So maybe this year, if he has some good ones, he can capitalize on it. And we gotta see what kind of speeds we will see here tonight. It's kind of a cool night, 62 degrees, 188, 189 in turn 3 briefly for Eric Monaco, 187 in turn 4. But this might be a solid lap time for Eric Monaco to kick things off. It will be a 48.275. So we will see of how that all shakes up throughout the night. And let's go ahead and get to the second driver here in qualifying. Next up, we got the number 2 of Bibi Ruiz. And he's been all over the place already in the JBL Cup Series. And unfortunately for Team Penske, they struggled last week at the Powerade Clash. All 3 drivers failed to make it into the feature. And all 3 of them finished outside of the top 2 in the LCQ. But for Bibi, maybe this might be a better season. He had a couple of solid ones last year, but overall struggled at Trackhouse Racing. Of course, Team Penske in the past with Bronson Minnick as the team owner has been really good here at Daytona. Bradley Reim won the pole here during the 500 last year, but we gotta see what Bibi can do here in qualifying.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how it ends up shaking out for Bibi Ruiz. I know he's got a lot of experience behind the wheel in other series, and we're looking forward to what he does over in the Wassup Cup Series this year as well. But this is a team that generally, finds some level of decent success here in the JBL Cup Series. So I would not be surprised if Bibi's a little bit faster than Eric here for this first couple of runs.
Yeah, we definitely gotta see new owner with Will Parrish as the owner, and you might be onto something. Already 190 down the back stretch for Bibi. 191. Are we gonna see 192? No, but 191 for a long time entering turn 3. I think we're gonna be right out, so I think this is definitely gonna be faster than what Eric Monaco just did. Team Penske's been fast here at Daytona, and apparently with the new owner, that does not matter. It will be top of the board, 47.7110. Smashes Eric Monaco's time, and that is going to be a good time to beat for everybody here tonight at Daytona. Third up in qualifying is none other than our defending champion of Matthew Hubert. He had a terrible Powerade Clash a few days ago. Didn't even make it into the feature and got turned on lap number 1 in the LCQ. So he wants to forget about that, wants to kick off the season right, and this could be a early challenge for BP for the pullouts.
Yeah, it absolutely could. I mean, Matthew Hubert, defending champion, did not have a good weekend at Langley Speedway, so he's looking to rebound a little bit from that. And I don't know. We'll have to see. Lots of times what we see in these rating series is the teams that tend to do good the entirety of the season aren't necessarily ones that run well on the super speedways. But we're still early on in the season. He's already pushing 180 right there, so I anticipate this being a pretty quick time for our defending champion, Matthew Hubert.
Gotta see what he can do. Got a new paint scheme, Coca-Cola Orange Cream. Gonna do about 8 races this season, I believe, and a kind of close-looking paint scheme for me, seeing a Coca-Cola 5, but already 190, similar to Bibi Ruiz, but already 191, 192, 193, and holds it steady in turn number 3. So I think the third straight car, I think we are going to have someone go faster. And a great lap for Matthew Hubert. Of course, the new team owner of Matt Tutt, he knows what he's doing. And still does Matthew, the defending champion, is going to go to the top with a 47.372. These guys keep on getting faster, but that might be a tough time to beat. Let's go ahead and get to the fourth driver here in qualifying. Here we go. Next up is Kenneth Miller in the number 41 for Haas Factory Team, Painting Boone, the team owner, and For Payne Boone, he went from Stewart to Haas Factory team, basically same team somewhat. But he kept a driver from that, and that was Kenneth Miller, who was in the 4 last year. And he did have some solid ones. I think he was one of the better drivers at Stewart last year. That team really struggled, but we gotta see how this works out with Payne Boone and Kenneth Miller. One car effort, and all the focus can go to this 41 car this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting to see what these guys can do. Not as strong of a run for these guys last year as they would have hoped. And now, of course, they're just down the one car. But Kenneth Miller in the 41, he's been around a couple of years here in the JBL Cup Series. We'll see what he can do here in the Haas Factory Team Machine.
Gonna be 180 at the line, just past 182. And that's been a pretty solid twin so far. If you get to about 180, you can do a good lap time. 185, 186, all looking pretty sporty in this number 41 machine. Not quite like Matthew Hubert, so I don't think it's going to be a 4th straight car going to the top. But I don't know, 191, 192 is going to be close. It might be second for Kenneth Miller here, and we got to see. Sometimes, like you were saying, some of the stronger teams struggle at the speedways, and sometimes some of the teams that don't run all that well throughout the season do a good job, and it will be a 47-6-4-1 that will slot him in 2nd place so far. Great job from Kenneth Miller in the number 41. Next up is one of our rookies this year in the JBL Cup Series is Emily York Watson, who had a lot of potential in the Powerade Clash last week. Started on pole in her heat, but got taken out in her heat, and then struggled in the LCQ. But this could be a team with a new owner of Sam Kane, and the new name was JTG Jewelry, now Hyatt Motorsports. And we gotta see what Emily York Watson can do here in her qualifying lap.
Yeah, and of course she had, well, kind of a tough run at the Clash. She started on the pole for her heat and just kind of fell back, got spun out, and did not have a good night at all at Langley Speedway. So good opportunity for her to rebound here. We'll see if she can hit 180 across the line. This seems to be kind of the threshold mark for these guys, and that's what she is going to do right there. She's going to 181, 182 maybe.
Oh, yeah, right at the line.
This is looking pretty fast. Looking pretty fast here for Emily York Watson in the 47.
Looking really fast. This team, one of many teams with a 2nd, 3rd, 4th car attempting the Daytona 500, with the Daytona 500 only cars later on in the night. And this is looking really fast. Matthew Hubert might be on watch out here. 191, 192, 192 until turn number 3. It's going to be close. 191. Looks like they lose a couple of mile per hour in turns 3 and 4, but holds above 190. It's gonna be real close. It's either gonna be Watson or Hubert. It will still be Matthew Hubert on provisional pole. 47-4-2-1. Easily gonna be 2nd place as of now for Emily York Watson. Great lap time from the number 47. Next up is another rookie of the number 10, Bucky Campbell. Next up, we have Bucky Campbell in the number 10 machine for Colleague Racing. And Rasha Mahindra is the new team owner. And honestly, they had a very solid Clash. Unfortunately, Bucky Campbell was not in the feature. But I believe Bryce Egan did, and I believe he had a great run, relatively speaking. Bucky Campbell, new driver to the channel, but Bucky has been fairly excited about this opportunity, and I'm interested in what this team can do with Rasha Mahindra and Bucky Campbell.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about their owner here, Rasha Mahindra. I know they know what they're doing when it comes to NR, and excited to see how this team ends up rolling around as the season goes along. I mean, it's the same thing in the Wall Cup Series. You have so many different owners coming in, and I feel like it's just getting stronger and stronger with who's good and who's going to be competitive up front, which, hey, Bucky Campbell has every right to be excited about this opportunity, because I feel like this could be a pretty good partnership.
Absolutely, and It's kind of like what I said in the Clash last year, was very competitive outside of the big three of Miller, Williams, and of course Matthew Hubert. And this is looking like a very strong lap time from Bucky Campbell. Everyone has been doing a 190 plus lap time except for Eric Monaco, 192, not quite 193. This is honestly looking very similar to Emily York Watson, one of our many rookies. So this could be up there, maybe a 47.4, 47.5 maybe. Let's see here, it will be a 47.5. So that's going to be our first 47.5. And the number 10 of Bucky Campbell is going to easily slot into the third place position. And next up is our third rookie of Carson Miller in the number 35. And here is what I might say might be a Rookie of the Year contender. I know it's very early on, but Carson Miller, I think he could have a lot of potential this year, driving for Jack Haas's team in 2311. Of course, 2 years ago, they were very competitive. Last year, Jordan Stout won the Daytona 500. He's back. But besides that, they kind of struggled. They were a mid-pack team. But with a third car and Carson Miller behind the wheel, I think this team could be a fairly high-end team throughout the 2026 season.
Yeah, absolutely. Carson Miller's a very high-end driver as well, and you've actually called him to a champion. No, sorry, that was Caleb that called him to a championship in the Lenovo Pro Series. That was the season before you took it over. But regardless of the fact, Carson Miller's a very strong driver. We're excited for him over in the Wassup Cup Series, but excited for him here as well. And one of the newer faces to NR, but he has definitely shown that he has a lot of potential. And I think there's a lot of potential for this team as a whole with Jack Haas becoming the owner. Looking forward to seeing what 2311 can do this year.
Absolutely. Jack Haas has been the owner of this team pretty much every season. They've had some ups, they've had some downs. And I think this could be a strong pairing, and I think they could be on the up and up. A slow start, barely got 180, and it's going to be 191 entering turns 3 and 4. So not the 192s that we've been seeing. But one thing that we got to take into consideration all night long is that some teams might be going for the front row, and some teams might just be looking on handling for the duels. And it will be a 47.681. That's going to be 5th out of 7 so far for Carson Miller. But I still think he's going to have a good season and probably a handling race car than a speed race car. Well, next up is the Daytona 500 Pulsar last year when we did the Fast 10 shootout format. But this time it is everybody. It is Bradley Reim and the number 22, the teammate to Bibi Ruiz and Will Parrish and Team Penske. He is a 4-season veteran and a former Brickyard 400 winner in the JBL Cup Series. He's had some ups, he's had some downs, but I think there could be some maybe some potential for Bradley here. A rebound year might be in the works, and we gotta see if he can do. Last year, he won the pole here at Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it ends up shaking out for him. I think this is a guy who has a lot of potential in him as well. He's been around for a long time. Of course, he's been in this series for a while, and hey, he won the pole for this race a year ago as well. As his terms the whole season, I think there's a lot of potential there as well. But like I said, there's so much potential for so many guys. Just have to see how it ends up shaking out. A little bit slower across the line than some of these other guys that we've seen so far. So maybe not quite the horsepower that he was hoping for. Still, let's see where he ends up at. Of course, his teammate 47.71 for Bibi Ruiz. We'll see if it's a comparable time there in the Team Penske camp.
And not a good 1 and 2. Is building up a lot of speed down the back stretch, 190, 191. So kind of like his teammate in BB, it was a slow start and then picked it up. But I don't think it's going to be that much better. I think it's going to be fairly similar to his teammate, Bibi Ruiz. So unfortunately for Team Penske, we'll see in the duels, but not a good qualifying lap for Bradley Reim here. And it's going to be very similar. Bibi Ruiz to the 47.710, and Bradley Reim's going to do a 47.720. So almost identical time from Team Penske. That's normally a good sign, but not here tonight, as that's going to place them 6 out of 8 so far. Well, this is the 9th car, and this is the 3rd out of 4 Team Penske cars here tonight. Team opponent is in the 500 only 02 car at the end of the night, but here's Alex Sanvitale in the number 12 machine. He had a very solid season last year, I believe. Won once or twice, won Darlington, I believe, in this number 12 machine. And Sanvitale's been here in the Cup Series for a couple of seasons now. I believe this is his 3rd season, and still in this number 12. Might not be doing that great of a lap here based off of what we've seen. Bibi Ruiz with a 47.7 and Bradley Reim with a 47.2.
We'll see what speed he gets across the line right here. Yeah, it's comparable to how we've seen the other Team Penske machines. But lots of times, we see the teams that are good on other racetracks tend to struggle on the super speedway. So this might be a good omen for the rest of the season for these guys. But still, this is a points-paying race, so you want to make sure you get as many points as you can as the season goes along. Those points are going to be very critical as we move on throughout the season.
Absolutely. And we got to see of how this all plays out. Of course, BP with a 47.7, Bradley Reim with a 47.72. So the other two Team Penske teammates were very similar, and not going to be a good time for Sanvitale either. And the Team Penske trio is going to end. He's going to be fastest out of the three, 47.699 for Alex Sanvitale and the number 12 machine. Well, next up is the second Henry Motorsports car, and the teammate who is currently fastest so far of Matthew Hubert is Trey Barto in the number 24. He is a former winner here at Daytona in the second race here in the JBL Cup Series. And we gotta see what he can do. And we got another person up here in the booth is a Daytona 500 only driver that's going out late here tonight. We got Stuart Brown up here. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to Daytona, and welcome to Season 7.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what the 24 could do, given what Hubert did with his lap. Just trying to soak up as much information I can. I'm only doing this race for the Daytona 500 this year. Never won the 500, so I'd love to do that. Looking forward to the opportunity driving the 97 RFK Ford. We'll see what Barto could do in the 24. He's just started his flying lap. We'll be on the same level as Hubert. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, a good start, 182 just after the start-finish line. And Hubert, he was really the first one and the longest one to be able to go 192 heading into turns 3 and 4. Already 190 entering 3 and 4, 192. And just like his teammate gonna hold it a while, not as long as Hubert. But this could be up there with Emily York-Watson and be a top 3 spot for Trey Barto. Of course, he had a good season last year, wants to back it up this year, and it will be a 47.587, slightly slower than what I thought. That will place him in 4th place, right behind Bucky Campbell. Next up is Zachary Fitzwater in the number 71. Next up is the NR2003 GOAT himself, Zachary Fitzwater, in the number 71. Surprisingly, he only has one win on my channel, and that came in the Powerade Truck Series a couple of seasons ago at Richmond Raceway. He had some standout performances last year, especially at Willow Springs on the road courses last year, and I'm excited what he can do on those this year, but I'm excited what he can do throughout the entire year, because Spy Motorsports and Cables, they know a thing or two on success in the JBL Cup Series.
Yeah, I think Fitzwater knows a thing or two about being successful on the super speedways as well. So I know he doesn't have much success over on your side of things, but I am definitely intrigued to see what Fitzy can do here, because I feel like he's got a good opportunity to do some good things with this team this season, and maybe even have a good run in the 500 here in a couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fitzwater's definitely someone that He can win anywhere and everywhere, and you will not be surprised about it. Spire Motorsports kind of had a slight down year last year. The rookie of San Diego made the chase still, but they didn't win at all last year. And the team that won the Owners Championship 2 years ago, we gotta see if they can rebound this year. 191 down into turn 3 for a really long time. Not quite 192, but 191 for a really long time. This could be a pretty solid lap time. First, the 4 spotted Motorsports cars, because they got the 07 500 only car later on tonight. But the first spotted car for Zachary Fitzwater is going to be a 47.716. Not as good as I thought. That's actually going to place them all the way down in 9th place for Zachary Fitzwater. Next up is Bruno Di Giacomo in the number 1 for Trackhouse Racing, and he was fairly solid last week in the Clash. Of course, he didn't make it into the feature, but he was running up front in the LCQ and just came up a little bit short. Finished top 5, top 6 in that, and Bruno Di Giacomo, this could be a bounce back season. Of course, he didn't really have a good year last year at Trackhouse Racing, but Di Giacomo, gotta see what he can do. His teammate with the slowest time so far, so we'll see if the number 1 goes a little bit faster.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, the thing about Monaco is that he's about 5/10 off the 22, for example. So we'll see here in terms of how Giacomo goes, if he can get this car fired up. We'll see here in terms of what he looks like across the line. I haven't been paying too much attention to the speed across the line, but 178 across the line, right at 179. That's not great, if I had to guess. But we'll see here what he could do off into 102, 182. Can't get to 183 by the looks of it. Not yet. There he is. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like the look of this lap so far, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but I don't know what Monaco did. Monaco went 180 at the line and only went 189, and Di Giacomo is going to get up to 189 and hold it for a long time here, but it looks like the Trackhouse cars are underpowered here tonight, and that's not good. And I thought that the Team Penske cars were underpowered, but this might not be another good lap from the Trackhouse cars, and it will be a 48.171. It will be faster than Monaco, but that would be 10th, 11th out of 12 cars for Bruno Di Giacomo. Next up is the number 11 of Aaron Abel. 4 seasons now in the JBL Cup Series, 8 wins on the channel, 5 of them in the JBL Cup Series. One of the more consistent drivers in the series, and he was almost in a lock-in spot into the feature last week until that late race caution. And this is the first Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota with Ryan Little as the team owner. And we gotta see what Aaron Abel can do in the King's Hawaiian, number 11.
Yeah, excited to see what Aaron Abel can do this season. We talked highly of him last week during the Clash. Of course, didn't quite make it in. He had a very good shot making it in through that LCQ. Didn't end up working out for him, but Aaron Abel is a guy who has been around in NR in these rating series a long time, so I know he's learned a lot. And his team over in the Wassup Cup Series, Racing Motorsports, they have actually won, I believe, 3 super speedways. They won 3 super speedways in a row during a stretch there. So he knows how to get these super speedways to go his way. A little bit quicker across the line than some of the other guys we've seen lately. Looking good right now for Aaron Abel in the number 11 machine.
Was a little bit slow, about 180 and 179 at the start line, but he's definitely picking up the speed, though. 188 already, down the back stretch, 189, 190, and 190 for a really long time. So this isn't going to be a great lap time, but this could be somewhere in the middle for Aaron Abel, possibly, for Joe Gibbs Racing. 188 for a long time after turn number 4 at the line. It's going to be a 48.056, so never mind. That is going to place him in 11th out of 13 for Aaron Abel. And next up is the 3rd place finisher out of nowhere last week in the LCQ, Alexander Rowe in the number 45 a former Super Speedway winner in the JBL Cup Series, I believe at Talladega last year. And this is definitely an improvement of a wide, and like we talked about earlier, this is a very solid team. Carson Miller, his teammate, is currently 6th out of 13. And Alexander Rowe, he's not really been in great equipment yet in the JBL Cup Series. But with Jack Haas as the owner of 2311, this could be a good fit for Alexander Rowe.
And this team, of course, won, not this car specifically, but the 23 won the 500 last year as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a good team this year, and they've got a good lineup as well across their 3 drivers. So we'll see what kind of time he does. 179. Can he get to 180? He does get to 180, which is something that Aaron Abel wasn't able to do on his lap. We'll see what kind of time, what the speed is off into 1 and 2, 183, 184. So I don't know if this will be the fastest time, but it is certainly an upgrade. It will be certainly in the 47 somewhere. We'll see where he goes down the back. If you get to 192 heading off into turn 3, then he might have a chance at being up and around that top 5, 191. So this will be, if I had to guess, somewhere in the bottom half of the top 10, if I had to guess.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of Carson Miller's time. So I think it could be a 47.7 for Alexander Rowe. Definitely a solid lap time from the 45. And it's going to be a 47.8. So I was 1/10 off. Going to be 10th out of 14. But watch out for Alexander Rowe this season. I think he's going to be really good in the duel possibly. And that might be a car that's focusing on handling over maximum speed. That is all the drives from the LCQ. And now all the drives coming up will be the 22 that made it into the feature last week at Langley Speedway. And next up is the 22nd place finisher from the feature of the Clash last week. And it is a former Daytona 500 poster under a single car qualifying format, and it was the Fast 10 shootout. It is Joe Rutkowski in the number 43. 2 years ago, he was basically the most dominant driver in the series. So last year it was a slow start, but ended very well in the chase as a non-chase driver. And for Chris Jericho, LT, and Leximo Club, they are looking for big improvements this year in season number 7.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And of course, this is a guy that he's going to be doing a great job. Has a lot of intel. He also runs a rating series himself, so he's smart behind the wheel. And of course, Chris Jericho, Tyler Jericho, LT, I know he knows what he's doing as well. So we'll see how that translates here on the Super Speedway. He did hit 180, which we haven't seen that in a little while. 181 there, so this is going to be kind of midway through the pack. But Joe Rutkowski, absolutely a driver to watch out for throughout the entire season here in the JBL Cup Series.
Absolutely. Hit 180, 181 at the line. And this could be a top half one here. We gotta see what happens here. 190, 191 into turn number 3. Not quite 192, but he's gonna hold it steady at 191 for a really long time, halfway through the corner. So this is definitely gonna be a top half one from Leximo Club and Joe Rutkowski. Great one here, and it will be, I would assume, a 47.662, and that will slot him in the 6th position out of 15. Great one from Joe Rutkowski in the number 43. And next up is a driver that needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. 7-season veteran, one of 3 drivers that's been in all 7 seasons now in the JBL Cup Series. Has the longest active losing streak though for a points pain win. However, he has won 3 dual wins out of his 6 previous seasons in the JBL Cup Series. Always a force to be reckoned with here at Daytona is Travis Crampton for RFK Racing and Charlie Davenport in the number 60.
Yeah, and well, I've got my eyes on this lap, obviously being an RFK driver for this 500. So hopefully Travis could do quite well for himself. Of course, Nathan, he drove for your team in my series and won the Daytona 500 earlier in the season. So he can get it done here at Daytona. He can win at this racetrack. We'll see what kind of what kind of speed he has at the line. 179, 180. Can he get to 181? Ooh. He does. He just got to 181. And you want to get your car, you want to get up to speed as quickly as you possibly can, right to the start finish line, get yourself in the best position. 184 off into 1 and 2, gets to 185 now. So this is certainly going to be at least a decent lap. We'll see 188 out of turn 2 down the back. And I think the big indicator we saw with Barto's lap, he was able to get to 192. Let's see if Travis can get to 192. Yes, he does. He he's kind of tickling it a little bit. 192 right off into turn 3. So this is going to be a decent lap. I think it'll be quicker than Rutkowski. And we'll see here where he ends up.
For 192, going to be a fairly solid lap time from the 60 machine. And it's going to be 47.629. And that's going to be 5th out of 16. The fastest 47.6 lap time of the night so far. Great lap time from Travis Crampton for RFK Racing. From one 7-season veteran to another 7-season veteran. The winner of the 100th points paying race in the JBL Cup Series is John Andrews in the number 34 for Front Row Racing. Has 6 wins in the JBL Cup Series, 6 wins total, 5 in the JBL Cup Series, and of course won the 100th race. A very consistent driver in this series, and especially with your team Alex at Front Row Motorsports. And let's see what he can do. The times are picking back up again here at Daytona.
That they are, and I'm hoping John picks it up here. I feel pretty confident about our ability on the super speedway as an organization at Front Row Motorsports, and I feel very confident in the ability of all of our drivers as well. Of course, John Andrews, longtime veteran here to the JBL Cup Series. We're proud to have him on our organization, and that's not quite what we want to see. He's going to hit 180 across the line, so this is going to be kind of a mid-range time based off of what I'm seeing here, but we'll just have to see what John can do here in this 34 machine. We got Duncan Halverson and then Logan Williams coming up later on, so excited to see how our guys do at Front Row Motorsports. And we're going to get a benchmark here out of John Andrews here on this lap.
Absolutely. It was a little bit slow, but really fast off of turn number 2. Got 188, 190 fairly quickly. 191, and he's going to hold it at 191. So a slow start, but picked it up very quickly. Down to 190. I think it's going to be kind of mid-range, or maybe close to Joe Rutkowski's time with a 47.6. But John Andrews, a 4-speed record week in and week out as a 7-season veteran. And it will be a 47.8, so never mind, not as fast as I thought. That's going to slot him in 13th out of 17 drivers. Next up is the first RCR car. And it is the driver that won at Auto Club last year. Was very consistent. Could have won multiple times outside of just Auto Club. It is Local Dawn in the number 3. Leonard Kochmer as the team owner. And I think this is going to be another team pairing with both full-time drivers to be a threat for the championship this year. And we gotta watch out to see what Local Dawn can do in this number 3.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned obviously won that race at Auto Club. Probably could have won a couple of others as well. He had a pretty good year. He ended up 10th in the championship, which I don't think is indicative of actually how good of a driver this guy actually is, Rogel Dawn. We'll see what he could do here on this lap. We had a look back at the Hubert lap, and he was able to get to 193 off into turn 3. So that's something to keep in mind. 179, can get to 180. He does. But you've got to be closer to 182 across the line. And I don't think... Well, this is not going to challenge Hubert's time straight away. 183, 184. I think this is going to be closer to where Andrews was. We just saw Andrews, of course, 13th quickest. I think it'll be somewhere along those lines. It'll be close, because it is tight amongst... Really, from like Travis on down. It's pretty close down to about Rowe. So... We'll see where Rogel ends up. He goes 191 or 190. So, yeah, we'll see. It's not going to be close to Hubert's time. I think it's right going to be in that hodgepodge of drivers at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's going to be right in the middle for Rogel. It's very similar to John Andrews this time. And, in fact, it is. It is another 47.8. And that's the slowest 47.8. So that's going to be 15th out of 18 for Rogel Dawn in the number 3 machine. Next up is the 54 of Nick Lopez. And next up is the number 54 of Nick Lopez, former Darlington winner, for the 7,500 winner. And he won the Clash last year, made it into the Clash this year. Didn't have a good showing, but our second Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. And unfortunately for Nick Lopez, unable is all the way down to 16th out of 18 with a 48.0. So we gotta see of what Nick Lopez can do, and it's gonna be interesting. Like Stuart said, you gotta do a 182 at the line, and you gotta do a 193 in turn 3 to be able to really challenge Matthew Hubert for the professional pole.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to quite see that speed out of Nick Lopez at this point. Aaron Abel, the other Joe Gibbs car that's gone out, is 16th quickest right now. He didn't even get faster than 48 seconds. But Nick Lopez, a little bit faster there. Across the line, he picked up some speed. This is shaping up to be a decent lap, at least from what I've seen so far today. Of course, we'll have to see how it ends up shaking out for him. 184 there, going through turns 1 and 2. Of course, as we know, Matthew Hubert, he hit 193 going down the backstretch and kind of held that high speed for a long time. So we'll see if Nick Lopez can come close to that here.
Oh, definitely faster than Aaron Abel. 191 for Nick Lopez, and he's going to stay there throughout the first part of turn 3. So this is definitely going to be faster than Aaron Abel. Started the lap a little bit slow, but definitely picked up a lot of speed. So we'll see. Is it going to be faster than his teammate? It will. 47.728. That will slot 13th out of 19. So a little bit better. And he is in the middle of that 47.7 bracket here at Daytona. Next up is the second Spymo Sports car in his second season is Mr. Edge Nicholas Sanvitale. He came so close several times to getting his first JBL Cup Series win last year. Didn't, but he did make the chase, was very, very consistent. And like I said, Spymo Sports had a down year. If they can step it up to what they were 2 years ago, but Josh Williamson was in the 77 car. Might have to watch out for Nicholas Sanvitale right now. His teammate Zachary Fitzwater is currently right in the middle of 11 out of 19 so far. So we gotta see what Nicholas Sanvitale can do in the Chili's Ridente Chevrolet.
You mentioned his consistency. I mean, that's always been the key for him, for Sanvitale. He's always been a consistent driver, regardless of the series he's been in. So, finished top 10 in the points last year. We'll see how he goes. And this is not going to be a great lap. 179, almost 180 across the line. So, I mean, you can tell straight away with that. I mean, it's not going to be up there. I thought Lopez time wasn't that bad. It kind of surprised me at 47.728. He's 13th. I mean, you look, for example, Lopez was going 188 out of the turn. That was 186, 187. So this time is just, unfortunately for Sanvitale, it's not going to be as fast. But some of these guys don't really worry too much about the super speedway, or certainly the qualifying of the super speedway. It's all about getting your car ready for race trim. And so that might be what's going on here, because obviously, the race is very different to what you're going to get in qualifying. So we'll see what he does across the line. Now, I don't like the look of this lap, but we'll see. Yeah, 47.940. So that's 17th.
Yeah, the first 47.9, and you touched on it. A lot of these drivers might be focusing on the duels and the 500 on race pace instead of qualifying pace. And for Sanvitale, it's not going to be like his teammate 2 tenths off for the 77. And this could be a eye watcher here. So far, Hendon Motorsports is first and fourth in Daytona 500 qualifying. And now here comes the driver that was very consistent in the first half of last year, but then fumbled in the chase. Still looking for his first win in the JBL Cup Series. It is Jordan Edwards in the number 9 for Hendon Motorsports.
Yeah, I am watching this number 9 machine and looking to see if he competes with Matthew Hubert. I mean, what Hubert did, we didn't realize it at the time, but that was an insane lap that he put down. And course, Trey Barto was 4th quickest. You know, we're seeing a lot of Chevys up front. Top 4 are all Chevys. A lot of the folks at the Chevy camp have seemed to find some speed, but Jordan Edwards here. He's got 181 now across the line. This is looking pretty close to what Hubert did at the start of Hubert's lap. We'll just have to see if Jordan Edwards can hold on to it, but these Hendrick cars, they're all set up fairly well here tonight for this super speedway and these single car runs.
That looked very identical to Matthew Hubert. Maybe 182 just slightly later than what Hubert did. But all the way 191 down the back stretch. 192. Will we see the 193? 193 flirted with it in 3 and 4. This might be 2nd place for Jordan Edwards. These Hendrick cars are bad fast here tonight. And Jordan Edwards off of turn number 4 is going to be a 47.405. That will be 2nd place for Jordan Edwards. And it is, at the moment, a Hendrick Motorsports 1, 2, 5 at Daytona. And next up we go from a multi-time season veteran of Jordan Edwards to a rookie of Sarah Taylor in the number 99 for Trackhouse Racing. And the bad news for Sarah Taylor is that she has seen the other 2 teammates of Trackhouse, the full-time drivers of Di Giacomo and Monaco, and they have gone to the lowest here tonight. So maybe things can be different for this 99, but it's going to be interesting what Taylor can do. Made it into the feature last week, was the only one from this team to do so. So that was at least some positive news, but let's see what the 99 can do for Trackhouse.
Yeah, I mean, see here, I mean, there was lots of concerns about what this 99 could do given what the 1 and the 88 did. They're both in the 48, the slowest 2 cars in the field at the moment. So 178, 179, can't get to 180. So it's not going to be a quick time again. But for the 99, if she could just be above her 2 teammates in Di Giacomo and Monaco, I think you just got to take that as you got to take it for what it is. 185, 186 out of turn 2. So this is going to be one of those slower times, but you know, again, could be setting up for race trim rather than qualifying.
Absolutely, and that could be something that a lot of these drivers are doing towards the bottom of the grid, like John Ayers, Alexander Rowe, local to 1, Nico Samdio, and able that we expect to be up front. They might be just going for the handling for the duels and for the 500. A tough night for Trackhouse Racing, as Sarah Taylor is going to go 48.005. It's going to be fastest in the 48-second bracket so far for Sarah Taylor. Next up is our 3rd Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, and after this car we will officially be halfway through qualifying for the 2026 JBL Cup Series, the 23rd out of 46 cars, and it's Juan Kennington in the number 19. He's been so close so many times to get a race win. Made the chase last year, but then it fell flat in the chase. And he's another one, college one others, but he's been in the series for 3 seasons now. And he really wants to get into victory lane. And we gotta see what this Joe Gibbs Racing 19 can do here in qualifying.
Yeah, of course, the Joe Gibbs cars have kind of just been mid-pack most of this run here tonight. Nick Lopez scores the fastest of those guys so far. I'm definitely intrigued to see what Ronald Kennington can do this season. And across the line, 180. And like you said, he's one of those drivers that's been in the series for a while, hasn't really been able to get to the top yet, but it's going to be a lot of potential for a lot of these guys throughout this season. I just don't quite think Kennington is going to have that speed to get up to the Hendrick cars who are up top right now. Of course, Hubert's still that fastest time. And a lot is going to be needed in order to get that fastest time here tonight after what Hubert set all the way on the 3rd run of the night.
Yeah, we didn't know it at the time, but that was what ended up being the case. This is going to be a good time, though, for Ronald Kennington. Might be the fastest Joe Gibbs car. Hit 180 at the line, hit 191 in 3 and 4. That's been about average for a 47.6 to a 47.8 here, so I think this will be a mid-pat for Ronald Kennington in the 19, and it will be 47.795 47.5. So that's going to be the slowest 47.7, and that's going to put him right behind his teammate of Nick Lopez and Joe Gibbs Racing. Here we go, second half of Daytona 500 qualifying. And we're starting with Fitzwater in the number 8 for RCR. The teammate to Local Dawn and Leonard Kochma's team is Duncan Wood in the number 8 machine. And he was another one, just like his teammate, very consistent last year. I believe he made it into the chase. If he did, or if he didn't, he barely missed out. But had a very good year last year with RCR, with both drivers. And Duncan is another one that I think could be a chase contender this year. But we gotta see how this works out, because for Duncan, his teammate Local is down to 18th out of 23 cars. So gotta see what the 8 machine can do.
Yeah, it was very interesting actually, because Duncan ended up with the same amount of points as Rogel Dawn at the end of last year. They finished 10th and 11th in the championship. So there you go. Look at that. That's a very fast start. 181 very quickly to 182. That's what Hubert did. It's what Jordan Edwards did with their fast laps. And he's 185 off into 1 and 2. So this is going to be a good lap. This is going to be up there. 186, 7, be 188. Yeah, 188 out of turn 2. I don't know if this will be quicker than the 2 Hendrick cars, but once again, another Chevrolet that's going to be right up there. If you get to 192, he does. 193, not quite. So this will be, I don't know if this will be quicker than Edwards, but it'll be up there.
I think this might be third. It might be very similar to Emily York Watson. A great lap for Duncan Wood compared to his teammate Local Dawn. It will be a 47.408. That is going to be barely third place for Duncan Wood by 3 1/1000ths off of Jordan Edwards. So great lap time from Duncan Wood. He was at 192 for a long time. So great one from RCR in that number 8 machine. And here's the second Front Row Motorsports Ford, and the brand new third car for Front Row Motorsports. He drove for Rickwell Racing last year, had some solid ones, but had a subpar season. But a massive opportunity here for Duncan Halverson in the number 4, carrying sponsorship from Strauss over to this team. And let's see how this all shakes out, because a couple of Fords have been strong here tonight, but based off of his teammate is a little bit subpar. So let's see if what Duncan Halverson can do in the number 4.
Yeah, I'm excited to bring Duncan Halverson onto the team. Andrew Williams behind this driver, and we know how good Andrew Williams is over in the Wall Cup Series as an owner. So I think this is going to be a lot of success for Halverson as the season goes along. We'll see what he does here on this lap. 180. Is he going to hit 181? Not quite. We're not fully set up for the super speedways like we are with Hendrick and some of these other teams, but Duncan Halverson going to try to get a solid lap time out of this and get a good spot for the duel. And I have a good feeling as the rest of the season moves on with our 3 drivers. And I think we're right at the sweet spot where we need to be going into this season.
Absolutely. Of course, Logan and John both made the chase last year, and both are very, very strong. Logan should have won the championship. Gonna be a very solid lap time from Duncan Halverson. 190 for a really long time. So I do think this should be better than John Andrews here in the number 4 for Duncan Halverson. And it will be a 47.772. So it is going to be better than the 34. But it's going to be in 16th for Duncan Halverson. So I think the front row colors might be set up for the duels here later on this week. And next up is the defending Daytona 500 champion. And he has a knack on these super speedways, because in the fall he won at Talladega in the Powerade Truck Series. He is this former Powerade Truck Series champion. And Jordan Stout, he had a good season 2 years ago. He had a season last year, even though he won the Daytona 500. And based off of his teammates, Carson Miller is in 10th, and Alexander Rowe is in 19th. So one car is focused on speed, one car is focused on the duel. So we'll see what the defending Daytona 500 champion can do of Jordan Stout.
Yeah, he's obviously, as you said, defending Daytona 500 winner. So, I mean, the strategy will be interesting. Do you focus more on getting your car in the window for race pace, or do you put a lot of it into qualifying? If 180, not quite 181. So we'll see here what kind of time. I think you'll get to 184 off into turn one. So this one will be, if I had to guess, this will be okay. 185. I think it'll be closer to what Carson Miller did than what Alexander Rowe did. So, I mean, he's won the 500 before. He's back in the same car, 23 once again, and he'll be one to watch this year. There's no doubt about that.
192 briefly entering turn number 3. So great lap. He went 181 right after the start finish line. So definitely a fairly good lap. Going to be similar to Carson Miller, maybe a little bit faster for our defending Daytona 500 champion. And it will be a 47.616. That's going to be the fastest 47.6 of the night. And that's going to place him 7th here. So a lot like Carson Miller, a very good lap from Jordan Stout. Here's a driver that I am looking forward to this year. Kind of like in the same boat of Jordan Edwards, Juan Kennington. In his 3rd season now, and this is definitely his best opportunity so far in the JBL Cup Series. 2 years ago, he drove for Hendrick Motorsports and made the chase when probably shouldn't have, and relatively speaking. Last year, he drove for Joe Gibbs Racing, had a solid season, but got released from the team, and now he is at RFK Racing. But at the time, we didn't know if it was going to be a good move, but clearly Charlie Davenport has found something in this team. All 3 cars made it into the feature last week at Langley, and 2 of them were up front competing for the race win.
We'll have to see how it ends up working out here for Matthew Burnett and RFK Racing as a whole. I feel like these guys are kind of on par with us at Front Row Motorsports in terms of the speed tonight, and that's exactly what it is for Matthew Burnett. He almost hit 181 across the line, so a little bit faster than what our cars were at Front Row Motorsports, but definitely cool to see Matthew Burnett, and cool to see RFK Racing as a whole just have some success early on this season. So definitely looking to pick the speed up as he goes down the backstretch. I don't think it's going to be quite as fast as Matthew Hubert's time, but Matthew Burnett looking to have a pretty solid lap here in Daytona 500 qualifying.
Fairly solid lap time. Almost similar to Travis in the 60 machine. 191 for a major time in turn 3, and I'm a little bit biased. RFK is probably one of my favorite Cup teams in real life, so it's cool to see them one up front here. And it's going to be a good lap time, a 47.688, fairly similar to Travis Crampton's time. And that's going to place them in 12th as of now for Matthew Burnett. So the RFK cars look like they kind of have the middle ground where they got speed and they might have some handling as well for Matthew Burnett. Next up is the 4th and final Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. And it is Juan Garcia in the number 21 at Willow Springs early last year in season number 6, and he barely missed out. I think he barely made it into the chase, actually. I could be wrong in the 48 machine, but he was a very consistent driver after that win at Willow Springs. He is one of the most winningest drivers on my channel, and the OG. He's been around for a long time here on NS Racing 97. And we gotta see what the Joe Gibbs Racing cars do. It looks like so far with Nick Lopez, Juan Kennington, and Aaron Abel, they've gone with the handling side of it, but we'll see if the 20 is different for Juan Garcia.
Yeah, look, we'll see here. He comes down to the line, 178 at the moment, 79. We've seen that, you have to be about 181 to start your lap as you cross the start-finish line. Or if you're not at 181, you've got to be pretty close. And he was right, let's say, about right in the middle. Like, he wasn't quite right at 181, but let's see, 186. Yeah, I mean, this is another one of those times that I think will be, at best, middle of the pack. We'll see. Obviously, you mentioned, 54, the 19th, 17th, and 19th at the moment. Abel is 25th. So he was able to get to 191, couldn't get to 192. So this will be close in terms of I think it'll be closely with Lopez and Kennington. I think if I had to guess.
We'll see. Is it kind of a mixed bag of handling and speed? It's going to be a 47.738. He's going to be right there with Nick Lopez, just a little bit off. So, looks like 3 out of 4 Joe Gibbs cars look pretty solid. Don't know what happened with Ann Abel, but it would be 18th for Juan Garcia. Next up is the third Spire Motorsports Chevrolet, and it is the driver that I ruffled a few feathers last week at Langley Speedway just a few short days ago. Might have turned 3 different people, but if you do that here, there's a lot more consequences for Anthony Hernandez and company. But this is kind of like Burnett. I think this is his biggest opportunity yet in the JBL Cup Series. He was at RFK Racing and was very strong at Richmond in particular. Could have won there once or twice. And we gotta see what Hernandez can do. So far, Fitzwater is in 15th, and San Mateo is in 24th.
Anthony Hernandez definitely a very solid driver, and sometimes he's a bit aggressive as well. We saw that really come into effect last week at the Powerade Clash, but very different type of racetrack here at Daytona, and of course, very different style of racing is needed to run well here. You can't be taking guys out here because odds are you're going to get caught up in that, so we'll see how that works out for him. Not really a good time there across the line for Hernandez. The Spire cars are really not set up to the liking of these drivers, at least for this event at the current moment.
Yeah, definitely looking like they might be focused on handling. It looked like it was 179 at the start finish line, 190 here in turn 3 for a really long time for Hernandez, so might rebound here a little bit, but definitely looks like some of these powerhouse teams that we would expect, like front row, like Spire Motorsports, Joe Gibbs, Team Penske, etc., might be on the handling side, and that is not going to be that great of a time. 47.987. That is all the way down in 25th, right behind his teammate for Anthony Hernandez. Well, watch out, everybody. Here is the 4th and final Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. And the number 48, he was part of the Big 3 last season in the JBL Cup Series. In his 6th season, 13 wins, 11 all in the JBL Cup Series, is Andrew Miller. And if it's anything like this teammate, we gotta see how it goes down. But right now, Hubert is 1st, Edwards is 2nd, and Barto is 6th. So let's see what Andrew Miller can do for the 4th and final Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet.
Wasn't quite a big 3 last year. It was a big 4, myself included. So just wanted to get that out there. But no, look, he was fantastic last year. 6 wins. We know these Hendrick cars have been fast. We'll see what kind of speed he's got across the line. He's already at 180 now.
Oh, boy.
Should get to 181, and he does. So this is already off to a very good start for Miller. And these cars are so quick. They've really been tuned up. They've been set up quite well. All 4 of them look very, very fast. Already at 185, 186. Yeah, this is going to be up there as well. This is not really surprising given the way the other 3 cars perform. We'll see if he can get to 193 down this back into turn 3, because that's what Edwards was able to do. It's what Hubert was able to do. He gets to 192, not quite 193. So it's not going to be fast as those guys. It'll be close with Barto. It'll be around 6th place.
I tend to agree there. That's still a very good lap, and bet Matt's going to be very pleased to see that here in qualifying. It'll be a 47.497, and that is actually going to be faster than Barto. That's going to be in 5th place for Andrew Miller. Great one from Hendrick Motorsports here tonight at Daytona. Next up is Andrew Miller's old wide from season number 6. Is the number 21 for Wood Brothers Racing and Wine Giovanni. And kind of like the 47, where Stewart was in the 47 and they got a rookie to drive it, they got a rookie in the 21 that replaced a veteran of Andrew Miller. It's Howard Anderson Jr. in the number 21. Showed out very well last week in the Powerade Clash. And depending on how this season goes, it might just be another Andrew Miller situation for Howley Anderson Jr. and this number 21 team.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it ends up shaking out for these guys. Of course, Andrew Miller was very strong with these guys last year, won a ton of races, which this is going to make Hendrick even scarier throughout the season. But we got a rookie driver now in this 21, Howley Anderson Jr. Pretty average timing. All the Fords seem to be just around that same speed across the line, and Howley Anderson Jr. there, about 180 crossing the line there in the number 21 machine.
Fairly solid, 180, 181, and yeah, it seems like a lot of the Fords are about the back half of the top 10 to the front half of the top 20. And it's going to be 191 for Howley Anderson Jr. Not quite 192, but going to be 191 for a long time, almost entering turn number 4. So I think this might be one of the better Ford times that we have seen so far. And Dwight knows what he's doing here at Lidwell's Racing. And Howley Anderson Jr., a rookie, will do a 47.683, a fairly solid time. And that's going to barely edge out Matthew Burnett in the 13th position. So, kind of like with a lot of the Fords so far, fairly consistent from the 9th through 18th position for Howley Anderson Jr. Well, next up is a driver that had a very busy night at Langley Speedway last week. Is rookie Joshua Neely. He didn't move on from his seat, barely. He started on pole for LCQ, dropped back, stole it late on a late race restart, moved on to the feature, started 21st, and got a top 5 in his first JBL start. Not a points race, but very impressive, and had a very busy night last week. And gotta see what Joshua Neely can do. A lot of the rookies have been pretty strong here tonight, like Emily Yorkwas and Bucky Campbell, Carson Miller, Howley Anderson Jr. This is, of course, Liquid Racing, and it is owned by the Season 4 champion of Derek Hamill.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of time this 51 could do. 180, and I didn't quite get to 181, but it was pretty close. It wasn't that far off. And then, I mean, there are certain points that are real good indicators as to how fast this car's going. So 184 in a 1 and 2 hasn't yet. Now hits 185 in the middle of 1 and 2. So it's not going to be up with the Hendrick cars, for example, but it might, if he's lucky, it might sneak into the back half of the top 10, or maybe more likely through to like top 15. It's a decent time though, 191 off into turn 3. Couldn't quite get to 192. So I don't think it's going to be that bad of a lap. It'll be mid-pack, I imagine, for Joshua Neely.
Yeah, that looks like some of the Fords that we have seen here tonight. Just top 15 speed, and very similar to what Burnett did and what Howley Anderson Jr. did. So that's going to be a 47.698, 1/1000th of a second faster than Alex Sanvitale. So 15 for Joshua Neely, about similar to all the Fords here tonight. So great one from Joshua Neely. Here we go, 4th place finish last week for this guy in the Clash, and arguably he should have been the 2025 Season 6 JBL Cup Series champion if Martinsville did not happen. Part of the Big 4 last year, and one of the drivers with the most wins on the channel because of what he did last year is Logan Williams, and the number 38 for Front Row Motorsports. And I bet you're fairly excited to have Logan back out, and probably going to be one of the main championship contenders throughout the 2026 season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm definitely excited to have Logan on this team once again. He's one of the best drivers in the series, and glad that we got him, and had a good run in the Clash the other night. And we'll see what he can do here. Of course, our cars have not really been up to speed the way we would have hoped here, but we like to focus on other parts of the season and go for that championship. And pretty average timer across the line there for Logan compared to our other cars. So I'm looking around that 20 range for Logan Williams. And hey, there's a lot of opportunity to move up in the duels and have a good starting spot for the 500, and anything can happen in that race. And as long as we get a decent spot, I think we got a good shot at getting some good points first race of this season.
Absolutely. The duels are sometimes easier to make the way up through the field than the 500, and a very solid lap there. Briefly got to 191, 190, 189 through the corner. And I think this is not going to be an indicator for front row this season. Just maybe looking on the handling here tonight, but it is going to be the fastest, no, the second fastest out of the front row cars. Very similar to Duncan Halverson there, 47.790 for Logan Williams. And thanks for joining us here tonight, Alex, for the majority of the night.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you throughout the season in the booth, and good luck in the duels in the Daytona 500.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all goes, and glad to see our guys have a decent night.
Absolutely. We still got a couple cars left before we get to the 500 only drivers, and let's continue on here with qualifying. Third place from the Clash last week, and another driver that really impressed us last week at Langley Speedway, and this is kind of ironic. Bryce Egan, he owned College Racing last year and was a very solid mid-pack team, and then when Eric Monaco was in his ride, had some standout ones at points throughout the season. And now Bryce Egan, with the new owner of Wassup Mahindra, is now driving for the number 16. So, full circle moment for Bryce Egan, and he's got to feel pretty good because his teammate Bucky Campbell, that went out fairly early on, is still in 6th place all the way through 33 cars.
Yeah, and Bryce is a high-quality driver. He's won a lot of DeWalt Cup Series races over the past year, and that's that's a good start. 182, yeah, this is a good lap straight away. So this car's very well dialed in as well. And I was going to say, he was very fast in my series at Daytona as well. He led a lot of laps in that race. So he likes this track, and here he is, 187. I reckon that's about as fast as we've seen anybody through turn 2. And he's already at 190. This will easily get to 193, I imagine, down the back. He's already at 192. He'll get to 193 before he gets into turn 3. So this is going to be close, and this might be the first time we actually see someone surpass Hubert, because this is a great lap.
How about this? It's going to be a 1 through 8 for Chevrolet, and it's going to be at least top 8 for both of the cars so far. It will be a 47.355. That is top the board. Bryce Egan, rookie to the Cup Series, just stole the pole from the defending champion. And we have a new guy on top with just 2 more full times to go before we get to the 500 only drivers. What a lap from Bryce Egan. Well, for Eli Bright, one of the 7-season veterans here in the JBL Cup Series, what did you try and do after what we just saw Bryce Egan do? The teammate to Joe Rutkowski in the number 43, and this team, I'm going to say it when Joe Rutkowski ran, I'm going to say it again, both cars were very identical last year, where they both started out slow, but got better as the year went on, barely missed out on the chase, and both drivers, I think, won a race during the chase as a non-chase driver. So, both of these Legacy Motor Club cars are trying to do better this year out of the gate. Rutkowski is currently in 12th fastest right now through 34 cars.
Yeah, and like Joe, Eli is a high-quality driver. So we'll see 175 out of turn. I don't think this is going to be quicker than what Bryce just did in the 16. That was a mega lap. 179 across the line. So that's not going to cut it at the line, clearly, and 182. So this is not going to be a fast lap time at all for Eli, unfortunately, and it's a shame, but I'm sure that he's obviously focusing on obviously the duels and then the 500 rather than this qualifying session, because he's locked in and don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely, and I think I like what this team did. Joe Rutkowski definitely more on the qualifying pace of things in 12th, and looks like Eli is definitely more tuned into the handling side of things for the duels. So I do think Eli is going to be a good chance in the duels. but not here tonight. It's going to be a 48.009, and that's going to be all the way down in 32nd position for Eli Blight. One more full-time driver to go, and it is the winner of the Clash last weekend, or just 5 days ago, of Kyler Sustry. Here we go, the final full-time driver competing in Season 7 of the JBL Cup Series, and just 4 or 5 days ago, kicked off the season with a race win at Langley Speedway. The Powerade Clash winner of Kyler Sustry is out, and definitely feel good for Kyler. Has had a rough couple of first 2 seasons, but it's definitely kicked off Season 3 right, and I really feel for Kyler, because Kyler was at this team last year and struggled, but obviously new owner, and has been a great first race at Langley, and we'll see what he can do, because his teammates are up there. Crampton in 10th and Burnett in 15th.
Yeah, he's obviously got to a positive start with that win last time out at Langley. So off to a good start this season, and obviously a little bit biased because I'm in an RFK car and I've got to go down and get ready for my own time, because starting off, I'm second last car going out. But yeah, this is yeah. I mean, look, it's not going to be up there challenging for the pole. Probably not going to be. I don't think it's going to be as fast as Crampton. I don't know if it'll be quicker than Burnett either. He did get to 191 just now into turns 3 and 4, but then quickly back down to 190. So I don't think it's going to be a great time, unfortunately, for Kyler. But once again, hoping to do well in the 500.
Absolutely, and it looks like a lot of the 4s are in the 10th to 20 range, and it's a solid lap time. Actually, not that solid. That's going to be all the way down in the order 47.858. Going to be all the way down in the 28th position, but that might be a car that's really working on with the handling. And that's going to do it for the full-time drivers. We have 10 more to go, 500 only, and Stuart, thanks for joining me here all night long, and good luck for the qualifying lap here in a little bit for the 500.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And with that, let's go ahead and get to the final 10 drivers and focus on the 10 Daytona 500 only entries for season number 7. Here we go. Now this is the important part, the second important part of business here tonight. We got through all 36 full-time drivers, and now it's time for the Daytona 500 only teams, and this is how things will look. We have 10 Daytona 500 only cars, and at the end of the night, the top 2 fastest of those 10 will lock in on speed, and everyone else will try and make it into the duels here in a few days' time. So it's going to be interesting of how this all plays out. Noah Clifton in the number 01, these will go by in number order. So Noah Clifton is out first, his teammate Joshua Neely is 16th. And out of all the 500 only drivers in this field, he has the most experience. 5 full-time seasons in the JBL Cup Series, and he has 4 wins in the series. And he's going to go up there quickly, kind of like Joshua Neely, 181, 182, just after the start finish line. And this is going to be interesting, because you would think that these Daytona 500 only cars wouldn't really have that much speed compared to, say, the full-timers, but things have been different in the past year in this event. And how about this from Noah Clifton? 191, 192, down the back stretch, and he's going to hold it there, 192. He's going to be up there, not challenging for Bryce Egan and Matthew Hubert for the front row. But how about this? Joshua Neely was fast, but Noah Clifton, the 5-seed veteran in the past, is going to be faster. It will be a 47.463. That's going to jump him up all the way up to the 6th position for Noah Clifton. And he, for the first call out, it might be in really great shape to lock himself into the 500 on speed. Next up out of the Daytona 500 only drivers is the car that 2 seasons ago did the unthinkable and won the Daytona 500 as a Daytona 500 only car with Riley Spurley to this season. It is the 02 Verizon Ford of Tanner Parton, I believe making his first attempt in the JBL Cup Series. He does have 3 wins on the channel in, I believe, the ARCA Series a couple of years ago. And we gotta see how these Team Penske 02 car does, because all the Team Penske cars went out fairly early. And at the time we all thought, not that great, but they're kind of in the middle. Sanvitale is 18th, Bibi Ruiz in 19th, and Bradley Reim in 21st. So we'll see if Tampon is around his teammates here for Daytona 500 qualifying. It's going to be 180 here, 181 right at the line. So kind of like what we saw with Noah Clifton, not quite as fast, but looks like these Daytona 500 only cars might be focusing on a lot of speed, knowing that they have to try and be 2 of the fastest out of the 10 to make it into the 500 without the duels. It's going to be 189, 190 down the back stretch, 191, and 192 for Tanner Parton. So just like Noah Clifton, it's going to be 192. And how about this for these 500 only teams? This is going to be easily the best Team Penske car of the night. For Tanner Parton, it will be a 47.504, and that's going to place him in the 8th position. And right now he is 2nd fastest to try and make it in on speed for the Daytona 500. Here we go. Next up for the Daytona 500 only cars is the number 07. HendrickCars.com Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports. Yes, you heard me right. This is Caleb Bowes' 4th car for the Daytona 500. And it is driven by Reggie Fogelman, who was a owner in the series for a couple of seasons. And now he is back as a driver this year. And he's going to try and attempt his first driving role in the Daytona 500. And this will be interesting because unlike the other 2 cars, both of them are kind of mid-pack. For Spire, Fitzwater is in 21st, and then all the way down in 32nd and 33rd is Sam Leo and Hernandez. But already Reggie Fogelman, 179, he had the line 180, and 181 shortly after. So this is kind of what we tend to see here at Daytona. For some odd reason, these 500 only cars tend to have a lot more speed than we anticipate. But this might not be as fast as Tanner Parton. And after this lap, the 2 fastest that are in currently will be in the yellow. So we will see of what that will be like here. And definitely not going to be Reggie Fogelman. 191 slower than Clifton and Parton, that both went 192. Going to be the fastest Spire car, though, for Caleb Bowes and company. And it will be a 47.740. So that ends up being fairly similar to Zachary Fitzwater. And for Reggie Fogelman, he will have to try and race his way into the 500 Fever the Duels. Well, this is definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. Here is Roberto Crown Jr. in a 3rd colored car for Wassup Everyone's team. And for Roberto Crown Jr., this is his 3rd time, I believe, at least 3 times, that he's attempted the 500. He missed out on it last year, but 2 years ago, in a colored car, he made it into the field. So he's back in a colored racing machine. And the reason why I say that we have to watch out for this one is that Bryce Eakin is currently on the pole, and Bucky Campbell is currently in 9th. So, a lot of speed so far from colored racing for Roberto Crown Jr. If he wants a chance to try and lock in on speed, he needs to be a 47.504 from Tanner Parton. And this is already looking good. 179, 180. 181 right at the line for Roberto Crown Jr. So, kind of similar to Tanner Parton in the 02 machine. And we gotta see if what Roberto Clementine can do. Definitely has the equipment to get locked in on speed, but can the 13 machine do it? Of course, it's gonna be full time again in the Krispy Kreme National Series, driving for Travis's team over there. Big opportunity down there. 192 into turn 3, so it's going to be close. I think Roberto Clementine might be up there with Tanner Button. Needs to be a 5:04 to try and get locked into the show before the duels, and it will be a 47.648. It will not be close enough for Roberto Clementine. He will have to race his way in via the duels, but a very solid time from the third caller car. Next up is the number 33 for Avery Alford, the third RCR car for Leonard Koshma's team. And the ironic thing is that Avery Alford is driving for RCR in the National Series, not for Leonard Koshma, for Aaron Abel, but he is driving for RCR here in Cup as well, so that's kind of ironic. For Avery Alford, he's attempted the 500 the last year or two, and I believe he missed last year, but he made it in 2 years ago and almost won the whole thing. So if Avery Alford can make it into the show, he could be a strong contender here on Sunday. Avery Alford does have some wins here on the channel, 3 of them, so we gotta see if what he can do. He will be full-time in the National Series this year, and he will start his lap here, 179, 180, and 181 right at the line, kind of like the last couple. Not quite as fast, but this could be up there for a lock-in spot. 185 entering turn number 1 for Avery Alford, and I know he would love to get back into the 500. Almost won this thing 2 years ago, almost made it in, but barely missed out last year. 191, down to bat 192 for Avery Alford, and his teammate Duncan Wood is up there in 4th, Vocal Dawn a little bit far back, but for Avery Alford, I think he's gonna be barely missing it, maybe. I think it's gonna in between Pullen and Crown Jr. here, and it will be a 47.542. It's close, but by 2 positions. Avery Alford will be in the 10th position and will have to race his way in via the duel. Next up in the number 67 for 2311 Racing, Jack Haas's team, his 4th entry into the Daytona 500. And this is a great driver, I think, that he has behind the wheel. Very underrated. William Ayers in the machine. And he has 3 wins, and he has a truck win. He has a couple of National Series wins for Alpha Prime Racing and Matthew Hubert's team last year, and he returns to that team in the National Series this year, so he's going to be a chase contender most likely down there. And we got to see how this plays out, because for Jack Haas, he has a good history when it comes to this car. It either makes it in or barely misses out, so this is a really good car, and based off of what it's been so far here tonight, Jordan Stout is in 12th, Carson Miller 17th, and Alexander Rowe is down towards the bottom. But how about this lap from William Ayers? 182, just past the start finish line. And for William Ayers, I'm not too surprised by this. Like I said, 2 of his teammates are up there. Jordan Stout is in 12th, and if he beats a 47.504, he will be locked in, as of now, into the Daytona 500. 191, 192, down the back stretch, 193 from William Ayers. What on earth? William Ayers in a 4th car for 2311 Racing might challenge Bryce Egan here for the Daytona 500 pole. At the line, it will be a 47.409, not quite like I thought. It will be 5th for William Ayers. He jumps both Parkton and Clifton. Now Parkton will have to race his way in to the 500. Next up in the number 84 for Legacy Motor Club. This is an interesting one. Joe Rutkowski is up there in qualifying in the let's see here, in the 17th position. And then Eli Blight is down in 39th. So a Jack on high type of night for Legacy Motor Club. But this is a bright spot for David Dixon, because this car with Trey Barto made it into the 500. And this driver won a dual race last year, driving the 500 only car for 2311 Racing. So David Dixon has had a lot of success here at Daytona, and this third car for Legacy Motor Club has had a lot of speed as well. But let's see what ends up happening. It's going to be 180, 181 at the line for David Dixon. Kind of like a lot of these 500 only cars. But we gotta see of what David Dixon can't do. Because of them is now the threshold is higher now. As now David Dixon has to be a 47.463 to beat Noah Clifton and be on the bubble to lock in on speed. Gonna be 190, 191 down the back stretch. 192 like a lot of these 500 only cars. 192 for a long time. This could be very close between Ayers and Clifton up towards the top of the 500 cars. And for David Dixon, who won a dual race last year, is going to slot in with a 47.449. He bumps Clifton out by one spot, and now David Dixon is in on speed, and Noah Clifton will have to race his way in from the duels. Well, just like Noah Clifton, how about a returning face to the JBL Cup Series, a 3-season veteran in the series, and has won once or twice as well. And driving the car that his good buddy Elijah Leonard owns, the number 91 for Trackhouse Racing, it is Wyatt Walker. And we gotta see how this goes down for this team. It's not been a great night, to put it nicely. 39th, 42nd, and 43rd respectively from the Trackhouse Racing team. And it's very unfortunate because they were probably expecting high hopes after what happened in the Clash, where all three cars were really competitive and the 99 made it into the feature. But let's see what Wyatt Walker can do. He is a veteran. He hasn't driven a next-gen car yet, though. It's going to be 180 across the line and 181 after. So that's kind of what it's been a lot of the times tonight. And I don't think that's going to be enough to challenge for the top two spots of Liam Ayers and David Dixon to try and lock in. Most likely, Wyatt Walker will have to go through the duels. He is picking up a decent amount of speed down the back stretch, though. 190, 191 briefly, so maybe this might be faster than the other Trackhouse cars. But not a great night from Trackhouse as a whole. And for Wyatt Walker, you will have to race it from the duels to try and make it into his return in the 500. And it will be a 47.854, the fastest Trackhouse car, but it's going to slot him in 35th here tonight for Wyatt Walker. Here we go. This is a great sign to see. Here is Stuart Brown, who was in the booth with us for most of the night. He managed to get down in time. We had to let him go to get to his car. But in the fourth car for RFK Racing, it is Stuart Graham. One of the big four, big five last year in the JBL Cup Series. Has 4 wins, 3 in the Cup Series. And we gotta see how this all plays out, because a lot of the 500 only cars are up there in time. And the RFK cars have been pretty solid here. Crampton in 15th, Burnett in 21st, and Sustry all the way down in 36th. So, gotta see how this all works out here. After this one, we only have one more car to go for Daytona 500 qualifying. Stuart Graham trying to make it into the show. It's going 179, 180 across the line, 181 just after the start. So it does not look like it's going to be that great of a time to challenge David Dixon and William Ayers to lock in. But I feel like this is going to be a car that is going to be handling really good in the draft, in the duels, and that is maybe what RFK is working on for the 97 and maybe even for the 17. 191 down the back stretch for Stuart Gren for a decent amount of time. And unfortunately, he's going to join Reggie Folkerman and Wyatt Walker towards the bottom half of the grid here in qualifying. And it will be a 47.758. Not too bad for the 97 of Stuart Gren. But right around Logan Williams and company. So we got to see how it all plays out. One more car to go. And because of that, William is guaranteed a spot into this year's Daytona 500. Here we go. The final car for Daytona 500 qualifying here tonight. It's been a long night. 46 drivers have, or 45 have taken time with one more to go. And Samantha Oskin here. And in the number 98 for Hayat Motorsports and Sam Kane. But thank you to Alexander Stewart, who was up here earlier, for a long night here. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it, try something different. And this certainly has been a whole heck a lot of fun. And just in a couple of days' time, we will have the duels and then the National Series. And then of course, the JBL Cup Series Daytona 500. And for Samantha Oskin, right now, he gotta feel pretty confident going into this one, because his teammate Emily York Watson is currently 6th place right now with a 47.421. If he does that and does a similar time to his teammate, that will bump out David Dixon, and Samantha Oskin will lock himself into the Daytona 500 on speed. Samantha Oskin has been off and on the channel. He does have a win or two here, and we gotta see of how it all goes down. It's guaranteed that these following drivers will have to race their way in from the duels here in a couple of days. Noah Clifton, Tanner Pun, Avery Alfred, Bill Brown Jr., Reggie Folkerman, Stuart Brown, and Wyatt Walker. But we will see if Samantha Oskin will join those that have to race their way in from the duels, or if David Dixon will have to race his way in from the duels. So, let's see if Samantha Oskin is out. Final call here tonight. And we'll see what he does. These Daytona 500 only calls happen relatively quick. 180 and 181. 182 just after the start-finish line. This could be close. Kind of like his teammate of Emily York Watson. And a lot of these 500 only cars, they have been fairly quick. And for David Dixon, this might be close. 188 off of turn number 2. 189. 190. 191 for Samantha Oskin. 192. 193 for Samantha Oskin. For the longest time, all night, all we can have a Daytona 500 only car start on the pole for Daytona 500. Samantha Oskin, teammate to Emily York Watson, is going to lay down a 47.279. Samantha Oskin, not only does he lock himself into the Daytona 500, but he will lead the field to the green flag on Sunday as a Daytona 500 only car. How about that from Hayat Motorsports and Sam Kane? 1st and 7th in qualifying here at Daytona. The very last car of the night steals it from Bryce Egan with a 47.270. Let's wrap things up and preview the duels here at Daytona for Season 7 of the JBL Cup Series. And there we have it. What a lap time that Samantha Oskin just put up in the number 98 for Hayat Motorsports. They will be 1st and 7th here tonight, and they will both be in duel number 1. Here is the lineups for each duel going into later on this week, and it will be Samantha Oskin and Matthew Hubert in roll number 1 in duel number 1, and then it will be Duncan Ward, Emily York Watson in roll number 2, Noah Clifton and Tanner Pun in roll number 3, Avery Alfred joins out in roll 4, Kenneth Miller and Joe Rutkowski in row number 5. Hallie Anthony Jr. and Joshua Neely in row number 6. Bibi Ruiz and Bradley Reim in row number 7. Row number 8 will be Juan Garcia and Stuart Grand. Logan Williams and John Andrews will be in row number 9. Row number 10 will be Wyatt Walker and Logan Dorn. Row number 11 will be Anthony Hernandez and Eli Bright. And then running out the field solo in duel number 1 and 23rd will be Bruno Di Giacomo. And then in duel number 2, it will be Bryce Egan, the rookie Bryce Egan, leading us to the green with Jordan Edwards alongside him in row number 1. Rem is and David Dixon in row number 2, Andrew Miller and Bucky Campbell in row number 3, Trey Barto and Travis Crampton in row number 4, Bibi Ruiz and Carson Miller in row number 5, Matthew Hubert and Alex Sanvitale in row number 6, Zachary Fitzwater and Nick Lopez in row number 7, Reggie Folkman and Duncan Allison in row number 8, Ron Kennington and Alexander Rowe in row number 9, Kyle Sustry and Nicholas Sanvitale in row number 10, Sarah Taylor and Ann Abel in row number 11, and then rounding out the grid in duel number 2, unfortunately, the way that we started with the night, Eric Monaco will start 23rd in duel number 2. And that is how the duels will shake up here in a couple of days' time here on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, Cement Oskin, he's not only locked into the field, but he is locked to start on the front row for the Daytona 500 as a Daytona 500 only car. And then same with Rem is. Noah Clifton, Tanner Pun, Avery Alford, Stuart Brown, and Wyatt Walker will be going in duel number 1. They will be going for one more spot going into the Daytona 500. And then in duel number 2, it will be David Dixon, Bibi Ruiz Jr., and Reggie Folkman going after one more spot. So we gotta see how it all goes down Wednesday night here from Daytona International Speedway. Thank you guys for tuning in for a very long night here for qualifying. Had a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to get right back here on Wednesday night for the Powerade Duels. Thanks for Stuart Brown and Alex Graham for joining me up here in the booth here tonight. And until Wednesday for the Powerade Duels, we will see you guys next time.